Lanka now has a communist government, and Marxist Anura Kumara Dissanayake, popularly known as AKD, is the country's 9th president. In the island nation's first election since the 2022 crisis, Dissanayake defeated his rivals Sajith Premadasa and Ranil Wickremesinghe to become the captain of the sailing ship. But who is this leftist and how did he become the president of Sri Lanka? Well, born on 24th November 1968 in a middle-class family, Dissanayake grew up to be a physics graduate. But he was well known to participate in anti-corruption movements and was active in student politics during his college days. But then he officially entered politics in 1987, an important year in the history of politics when the Indo-Sri Lanka Agreement was signed to bring the Sri Lankan Civil War to an end. Then in 1997, he was elected to a Marxist political party called Janatha Vimukthi Peramuna, JVP, of which he became the leader in 2008. AKD now leads the National People's Power Alliance that traditionally supports strong state intervention and lower taxes, and also campaigns for leftist economic policies. But to understand his significance better, it is also important to see the circumstances of Sri Lanka when AKD came to center stage. In 2022, former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa was driven out of the country by mass protests, and the reason was a horrendous economic meltdown. Sri Lanka's foreign exchange reserves dried up and public debt reached more than $83 billion and inflation soared to 70%. Then, Wickremesinghe replaced Rajapaksa and introduced economic reforms that brought down inflation and strengthened the local currency. But Sri Lankans were still unsatisfied with the way the country was being ruled. And this is where AKD presented himself as the leader of change and started campaigning as an advocate of the poor and disruptor of status quo. He also promised to pay back Sri Lanka's thick debt and renegotiate the terms of the IMF bailout. Now remember, Sri Lanka has been going through a harsh economic and political crisis for a while, and Dissanayake's main challenge will be to restore the economy. But what does his leadership mean for India? Well, to start with, JVP is perceived to be anti-Indian and be warmer towards China, which is also trying to foster its ties with the island nation. JVP is an opposer of the India-Sri Lanka 1987 Accord and the full implementation of the 13th Amendment to the Sri Lankan Constitution that established provincial councils in the country and recognized both Tamil and Sinhalese as their official languages. India's key priority is to address the requirements of the Indian origin Tamil community and also ensure a more humanitarian approach towards Indian fishermen. India provided an aid of roughly $4 billion during Sri Lanka's economic crisis and has also invested heavily in various Sri Lankan projects. Therefore, AKD's outlook towards India and his management of bilateral ties will be very interesting to watch out for.